Well, I think in the United States it's pretty obvious that higher education isn't working very well from the standpoint of providing a cost-effective way to train people for the workforce. We have over $1 trillion of student loans that are not being paid back, and we have very high levels of unemployment of college graduates. So something there has to change. And what hasn't changed in higher education is the way we educate people. It's been about the same for 500 years, which is to say there have been no real productivity gains.
So the only way for us as a society to solve the education problems and to bring developing countries into a 21st century economy within this generation as opposed to within 3 to 5 generations is by providing access to education in a much, much higher access way. And really the only way to do that is by using online technology. So Coursera is currently the largest of the new generation of online education companies. We have 69 partners that are providing content. We have about 3.5 million students right now, a year after we launched. I think what makes us different is the partnership that we have with some of the world's best universities. We've been fortunate to be able to attract top universities from many, many countries around the world to work with us in opening up education that has until now been available only to a very privileged few.
70% of the students on Coursera today are outside the United States. A bunch of them are in Europe, but 40% or so are in the developing world. And we think that's really a huge opportunity for the company.
I think one of the most surprising and gratifying aspects for us has been the rate of growth. So we launched in April 2012. We had 200,000 legacy students from some earlier Stanford courses. We hit 1 million students within less than 4 months. We're now, a year later, at about 3.5 million students. This is a rate of growth that is relatively unmatched even in the relatively fast-moving pace of internet companies, and I think really speaks to the hunger for high-quality education that exists in many parts of the world.
Coursera is one of the most exciting companies I've ever been a part of. In its first year of life, it's grown faster than Facebook, faster than Twitter, faster than any company in internet history. We think it has a very bright future.
There's a new market creation story here. These are markets that, really today, as you look at them, a company like Coursera that's creating a whole new market. This is a market that didn't exist 3 years ago. This is the advent of what we do really best, which is technology drives not only disruption and dislocation, but creates new markets and creates opportunities. EverFi is another great example of this. They've actually developed, in our opinion, a very innovative business model where the private sector is actually playing a real role in funding a fundamental innovation in the education system.
EverFi is building out a national platform to teach and assess and certify students in critical life skills. So think about things like financial literacy, student loan preparation, science and engineering, all the way over to alcohol responsibility, relationship violence, civic engagement, and other areas. EverFi has a very unique business model. It's been groundbreaking across the education industry in that we implement and serve our products into schools, but it's entirely paid for by the private sector. So we have over 1,000 large companies, foundations, and community-based organizations and others who license our software for schools that they care about. One of the things we're tapping into at EverFi is this incredible impatience to change the equation in education. I think if you applied the same standards that we have in education to other areas like healthcare or drug delivery or transportation, we would all be frankly kind of horrified about the results there. I mean, the fact that you have 50–60% of students in some districts that are dropping out by 10th grade, we would never tolerate that in any other system. And the fact that technology now can play such an important role of evening the playing field and allowing you to bring solutions at scale to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of students is an incredibly powerful idea that we're tapping into.
Over the past decade, NEA has been privileged to be a part of many great software as a service companies like Salesforce or Workday that disrupted their client-server incumbents. The same trend is occurring now in the education space, where many universities and K-12 school districts are deciding to move from their legacy client-server products into the cloud. And Desire to Learn is the market leader in cloud-based learning management.
So I founded Desire to Learn to have a transformational impact on the world of learning. For me, it was about building technology that really helped engage, inspire, and really help that next generation achieve the skills and knowledge that they're going to need to succeed in this economy. We're shifting from the old analog model of education to a much more digital approach. So that move from print to digital is just happening. That move from being able to understand how students are doing in the class to being able to predict how students are going to do in the class is just starting to occur.
One of the most exciting things about Desire to Learn when we made the investment was the amount of data that they had collected. They had over 10 million students that had gone through tens of thousands of different courses and had collected very rich analytics about what successful students were doing as a part of their online learning process and what failing students were doing. And one of the conclusions that they came to was that they could predict when students were likely to drop out of or fail a class. Analytics has really transformed online education. In the past, companies like Netflix and Amazon could really personalize a shopping experience or a movie experience for a consumer. Today, actually, through big data analytics, we can actually personalize the learning experience.
So we're building this technology right at the right time. So you've got great mobile technology that's being introduced, you've got great access to the internet, and all of a sudden now you can, as a teacher, provide great context to the content that students can have at their fingertips.
Innovation is now happening at the edge. It's happening for consumers first. It's not happening in the enterprise and working its way out to consumers, which is what it used to do. And the result is that, consumers who become employees are demanding change inside of enterprises, and we see exactly the same thing happening here with education.
Edmodo is the first social network that was created purposely for the unique needs of K-12 teachers and students. We started as a grassroots movement of teachers bringing their students onto the platform and telling other teachers about this free and secure environment that they could teach their students in. And today we have 20 million users in every single country in the world and every state in the United States.
In some of the leading edge enterprise software companies, the freemium model has proven to work, right? You start out with a free service. Over time, you prove your value proposition, and you find ways to monetize it later. We think that's exactly what will play out in some parts of the market in education, where you can actually offer the service effectively for free. Adoption rates, climb to a point. We're seeing this in Edmodo, for example.
More and more K-12 classrooms are coming online, and more teachers are looking for really innovative digital curriculum and very cool education applications to use with their students every day. And as this demand increases, we see teachers adopting Edmodo as a way to streamline all of the digital curriculum that they're sharing with their students all in one place. That's led to more than 30% of teachers in the U.S. using Edmodo, and they've really inspired their school districts to adopt it more broadly. 85 of the 100 largest districts in the U.S. use Edmodo.
One of the things that got us most excited about looking at the market, meaning that how do you ignore the market? It's the second largest part of the GDP in the U.S. here. It's fundamentally one of the largest markets globally. Its addressable market is measured in trillions at the end of the day over on a global basis. It's a market that people spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars every single year here predictably in the U.S., and that's growing in these emerging markets.
There are 700 million children of primary school age who live on less than $2 a day, who don't have access to an education. That's the need in the market, that's the opportunity, that's why we started Bridge International Academies, to serve that population. In order to hit this price point at this quality and do it profitably, we've had to re-engineer the entire value chain of what it means to provide schooling. Everything from how you do market research, to how you develop curriculum, to how you hire and train teachers, to how you support and monitor them in the field. We've done that heavily leveraging technology. So many ways we're a technology-enabled service.
Our internet-enabled e-reader, which is in the hands of 1,500 teachers across the country of Kenya, enables that teacher to leverage the knowledge and the data from hundreds of other international experts and to bring that into the classroom. We wouldn't be able to do that without these devices and without the technology we've developed specifically for our teachers.
The combination of being able to build $1 billion business while fundamentally transforming education for 700 million children in the poorest countries in the world, that's a fantastically exciting opportunity, both from a change the world and investment standpoint.
When we took a step back, one of the obvious points in the educational system, it's been a laggard adopter of technology. So the really interesting thing for NEA in that context is there are technologies and business models that we understand really well that can be applied to an industry that are proven out in other markets that can be applied to an industry that really has taken its time to adopt. I think a lot of the reasons why NEA is excited about the space, and we're building a portfolio, we're taking a very considered approach. This is a long-term market opportunity, but nonetheless, a lot of the fundamental things that we see and are familiar with and get excited about, the VC industry in general is also adopting. So capital is coming in, which means there's more innovation, more ideas, more fundamental technologies being developed, and that's all really good for two things. One is it builds a more robust and liquid ecosystem. Two, it provides more alternatives to drive change.
Many people think that the education system is broken and irreparable. We think that America's entrepreneurs can work with America's schools to fix the problem.